Welcome to the three of us and anyone watching to the Bitcoin Design Guide Jam session number 70. Here we are. Small round today. Mo can't make it. And generally the work is, I think it's very focused on a handful of people right now, with the majority of being loaded on Michael's shoulders with his 4 pull requests for the inheritance wallet.
Yeah, it's a bigger one, but it's like we kept building and building.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we have our usual notes document, but I feel like there's nothing really much in there that's not also in our roadmap. So let me go to projects, Bitcoin Design Guide roadmap. Do you ever look at this one, by the way?
At the roadmap, not really, but because my roadmap was kind of a given.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think there's something about multi-key backups and descriptors that I think I'll be equipped to tackle next. But I have to have a look at it again.
Yeah, I mean, generally we don't use it very often because it's not like we're coordinating 50 people and all this insane amount of stuff. And the design process happens in many other places too, not just here. But we have it. I updated it a little bit earlier. And it's loose anyway. It's just quarterly based. So before we spend all the time on your stuff, if I could just bring up 2 things. So one is we have this pull request for the Coinbits personas, which Dave, are you familiar with that one?
Not really.
So Coinbits internally, they created these US-focused personas. They created a whole website about it, and they shared it with the team. I think it was part of a Summer of Bitcoin project as well. And they said, hey, we want to give back, which is super cool. So I added to our existing personas page, I added these at the bottom as extra resources. And I added the table of contents because otherwise, you wouldn't really, it would be very hard to know that they're there. And that's it. It's really just this piece of text, links out, and then those 4 personas, just in case that the original website ever disappears. We still have those images. So that's really it. It's a very small PR. Dave, who shared them, he said, looks great. So I think we have his approval. If someone just wants to review it, that'd be super helpful.
Yeah, I can do that. Well, it looks very small. I mean, it's 2 sentences and a couple of pictures.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be this super massive thing because they already created all this whole page and resource material. We don't want to steal their thunder.
Yeah.
Also. So here's another small thing. The new page about human-readable addresses. This is a larger discussion. So I posted an update. I was trying to hope to get it through. But John Carvalho brought up, he basically thinks that this human-readable addresses thing is not standard. It's too speculative. No one used it. And so it should not be in the guide. The guide should be more about established things. So that's an editorial decision. It's probably something we need to discuss elsewhere, but I just wanted to throw it out.
Yeah. Have I commented on this? I think I did comment on this. This is issue.
So there's a pull request and there's an issue. The issue I really just created as a bucket because I wanted to, after the main pull request is done, I wanted to revise some of the visuals, but it was just too much to do at once. But then John started commenting with his feedback in that smaller issue. So not the best placement, but I'll share the link. There you go.
Yeah.
That's where his comments are in. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, feel free to
The
comment in
P.
there too, or we can have a discussion in
Yeah.
Discord.
Okay.
And if
Yeah.
necessary, I think Stephen also had in the main PR, he also had this question where he wasn't sure, or he doubted that it's appropriate to have this material.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fine with it. I think we can be a bit more experimental. And then, if it now doesn't become reality, we can just take it down. It's not like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not writing like some regulation or a Bible here or whatever.
Yeah.
And we can put
Yeah.
disclaimers in there and whatnot. I mean, as long as we don't get into BRC20 tokens or weird stuff. But I don't think we're there.
Yeah.
I think this proposal is an honest, good, well thought out proposal. Whether it becomes implemented, who knows? But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was also of the same mind where I am not sure it has consensus, and like it's not the best practice as of yet. But I think that is like definitely just like John is saying, like this is like an editorial decision. I don't think it's like like it's gonna be a big problem if we have it in the guide and people are like, you know, yeah. So I think on that part I do agree with you. It might also be like it might help adoption because people see it in the guide and they think that, hey, this is like the established best practice, so we should do it, and that way it might get some adoption, I guess,
Yeah,
which would not be bad.
or
But
it might prevent adoption. It might, like, the visualization might make people realize that, oh, this is not really cool. We don't want to do this. Like, either way, it could be helpful in finding consensus. Right?
yes, that's a great point. And so I like have not seen the PR, but like you were saying, if we have a disclaimer or something like that at the top, it might help people like just like inform them what it is and what it is not, right? The page is, what it's talking about, and all. And I think, yeah, that way I think I'd be fine with it, maybe.
Yeah, if people don't want to put it live, then I'll just put it on my blog as a blog entry, and at least it's somewhere to be found.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one thing to have content about standardized or existing things, but the kind of the need or the context for this is a bit more general, right? So you also have these lightning email addresses that you can get and these kinds of things. So it's a very related concept or content. So I mean, have general guidance around this, even if it's not implemented standard wise. I also think it can live there with the appropriate kind of disclaimers that it's kind of a more conceptual or kind of design reference or UX reference, but I still see the value in it in the content.
Yeah, I mean, in the stabilizing Bitcoin value, we also have stuff about synthetic currencies, which is also pretty experimental. It says that as a disclaimer at the top. I think the sign in with Bitcoin is kind of, I don't know. I feel like we have some, but for some reason, this BIP, which it's now a BIP, it really, there's some hot debates around it. Gets people riled up.
Yeah, it might be because of actually the implementation details that are, I think, more the topic of contention than the actual UX around or the kind of the user facing part.
Yeah, right. I mean, do we ever since the beginning, people always wanted to have these human readable addresses, but do we really need them? If I just save your silent payments address or your bolt 12 in my contacts and I just give it a name, like, do we still need these email address
Yeah,
thingies?
right. I mean, yeah, I love you for talking about that. It's like we are now like talking about a different interaction model, and I think that is a very good point. But I think getting back to the larger point about like some of these non-established things being in the guide, I feel like that is fine. I mean, if I see it in the how it works section, I think that is like that seems to me to be a section, or to be about like explaining things. Like it's not about like this is the established practice or whatever. How it works is about explainers, and if it is, and if something is in there, I think that's fine. I mean, that would seem like a more appropriate place for some of these new or experimental things.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think I'll create a separate conversation thread somewhere around this editorial question at large, and then just invite a bunch of people to give their input, and then we can just follow whatever the group wants to do. And if you give your points, like this, some of the things you just mentioned, that would be super helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I think that was it for my two smaller issues. And then we are at these. Michael, your first PR has 107 comments. Your second one, 32. The third one, 19. And the fourth one, only 7. So you're getting better with everyone.
Well, the fourth one I took out of draft mode just this morning. So that's actually and the 107, it was at 88 and end of last week. So I guess the 20 that got added were yours. I've already went through a couple of them, not all of them, but yeah.
Who did?
It's
Oh, you already addressed some of them.
yeah, some of them, where you point out some obvious typos and stuff. So I just hit kind of commit changes, and yeah, I'll need to catch up. Well, so what I probably want to do is get part one addressed everything, so that we can maybe merge that, and then the other ones are kind of smaller topics. So that would be probably the plan.
No, I think it's great. I also think that you could have almost split up the first one one more time.
Yeah.
And after reviewing all 4, I feel like my eyes started getting blurry a little bit, because like so many screen sequences where it's like, okay, here you go, add a key or cosign, or kind of go through these signing steps, and like I really focus very closely. So I think it's not easy to review all this stuff. You definitely need to keep the whole thing in mind, but it also just shows how much work you actually did there.
Yeah, I when I look at the Figma file, it's hundreds of screens, right? And and yeah, but the PRs get smaller as they, the fourth one is actually pretty small, because you already went through a lot of the stuff in the previous ones. So I think the really the heavy ones are the first one and the third one.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of the complexity lies, for users. So I think if we can get, let's say, part one kind of merged this week, and then gradually the other 3, that would be good. I also realized while I was already done with the backup part, that there was a section missing about the cosigner onboarding from the first part. So it's kind of a mess. But I didn't want to mess up the first two where I already got a bunch of feedback and a lot of feedback. I didn't want to kind of derail this again, so I just added it as part of the as a page in the third.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. But I think it could make sense to isolate some of these flows into separate pages. Otherwise, you end up with a super long page. It's really hard to parse. And yeah, just I don't know. Maybe you even want to, after they're all merged, you may even decide you want to restructure. I totally get that. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, so that could be also an approach to say, okay, let's get part one in, and then I could split up the rest differently. But yeah,
totally your call. Yeah,
I'll need to wrangle with GitHub for that. So at this point, I'd rather get everything merged and maybe then split it up into multiple or even more pages. But it's already 7 pages as it stands. So
yeah, I think it's a good thing to just keep notes, or even put it in the comments, like follow-up tasks for PR this, so after the first one is merged, you probably want to rebase all the other ones, right? And because I feel like you changed some page names too.
Yeah.
So it's
probably.
like you might have, I don't know. I think if it's just the page name, then that's just a piece of text in the file. But if you also change the file names, then you might have a bit of a mess coming up.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed here. Yeah. So yeah, and it really might make sense to even. I'll probably need some help on how to do that, but maybe to split it up even further, as you mentioned, might make sense.
Yeah, at this point, I would just try to get things out.
Yeah, me too.
And then have a reading session or a discussion session or something like that, and then just take notes, get feedback from more people, and then adjust.
Yeah.
Right.
Michael, are you looking for any more feedback on part 3 and part 4? Because I have not provided any feedback on that, but it looks like you have already received a lot of feedback and you have already made a bunch of changes.
So part 4, hang on. Sorry. I came to the basement expecting peace and quiet.
Well, good. Bring them in. The more the merrier. Maybe they can give some feedback.
No, they just wanted me to increase the time limit on their iPhones.
Okay.
No, so part 4. I just opened for feedback today actually, so that would be still good, but it's a very small page, so it would be good to get some feedback there. And part 3 as well. I mean, but I think, didn't you give already some feedback on that one?
I mean, at least I don't remember doing that. I know I gave a bunch of feedback for part 1 and part 2, and part 3 I seems like I did not yet. So
yeah, I mean, feedback always helpful, but I think part 1 and 2 probably are already pretty good.
Yeah, one bigger thing that I gave feedback on in, I think it was 4. I'm gonna pull up the preview here. So it's called wallet recovery, right? And so really, I was wondering, should this be called something like succession or so? Or because wallet recovery makes me think about someone lost the key and we kind of need to put it back together, but everything's fine. But really, the parents died, kids are in a sad situation, and now is the thing that you actually did all this planning for. That's that situation, that planned situation is actually occurring now, where the kids need to get a hold of those funds and split them up, which is, I mean, that's like the key moment, right? Of this whole thing. So recovery doesn't quite feel like the right title, because that could be in any other wallet, like you lose your phone, you recover it. I asked like ChatGPT, like, give me some names for what this could be called, and came up with all these horrendously legal and names. But succession seems like something that stood out, but I don't know, maybe there's another name for it. And then so at the end, the last sentence is, it basically ends with, they split up the fund. But then I was wondering, Yash, maybe you have thoughts on that too. I mean, it's not quite the end, right? Yet the funds are split. The wallet still exists. They still have like this envelope and some keys floating around. They really probably want to delete all this old stuff. Maybe they want to keep it around in case, I don't know, might there still be a transaction coming in for some weird reason? Maybe from, I don't know. And then,
or they might have to prove what they did. That's also possible.
Yeah, they have to notify the lawyer. Maybe they need invoices for their taxes or other things. So that could be an addition there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I just saw like the first couple of sentence of that page, and like, do we like have to mention the circumstances under which like somebody died? I know, like, this is like zero thought. I just read the first sentence and thought, oh, like you are saying like they died in a deadly car accident or something.
I mean, I'm totally open to
they were shot by aliens. You know,
after
like,
a long, happy life, they peacefully drifted or passed on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally open to something different, but I wanted to get something tangible in there. I mean, because it also felt kind of weird to say, hey, 10 years later, their parents died. It's a bit, and I also wonder whether to mention it at all. But yeah, it's. I mean, it's the point of the whole reference design, right? So it's.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, and yeah, it could be less visual, maybe.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or more visual, like a nice big header image.
I mean, I was talking about like Lord of the Rings, and you can see how like the elves, like they board the ship and then they sail out of the Middle Earth. You know, like that is like, I think that is equivalent to death, but it's a super appealing visual, you know. Anyway, yeah, so that was just like a throwaway thing. I think you guys talking about something more important. I like had a quick question about it. It's like, are you talking only about recovery, like about the succession part, or is it like about recovering the wallet if like Alice and Bob like they lose one of the keys, and that's not the part
that's covered in another page.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, the workflow would be the same, or more or less the same. It's just not that the children access the material, but
right.
I mean, an interesting scenario would also be, so if the parents want to decide who gets how much, if there's some pre-signed PSBT somewhere that both kids have to sign or so for the funds to be distributed in a specific way, but it would also require addresses to be defined beforehand and some other stuff. So I don't know if that's even possible.
Yeah, I explicitly did not want to go into these kinds of rabbit holes because it introduces a whole lot of additional complexity, and that might be kind of just a different way of doing it. But any change then requires a lot of stuff changing also on the children's part. And it's
Yeah, that's more like for here are other things that you could do. Or
exactly it's but do it on your own time.
yeah, if you'd like to
Yeah.
contribute to this project.
Yeah, I mean it's it's a big enough, let's say, reference design already as it stands, and it's, I think, pre-signed transactions is, yeah, it's a kind of another level on top of it.
You know, if because you said you had several hundred screens in this Figma file, right? I was just thinking, so something that I've done a couple times is take all the screens from something, put them in a grid, export them, just post them on Twitter with or whatever, you know, which is like look at all this stuff that's in here, you know. Or you could publish it as a community file, clean it, upload
Yeah,
it,
that's
publish it, just to get the stuff a little bit more out there. Because I think when you show people like a page with text, they might not realize about
yeah.
all the stuff that's in there.
Yeah, that's what I was planning to do anyway, right? Because it's and that's why I also structured the Figma file in a, let's say, more structured way than I usually do. But yeah, I was planning on publishing that anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can I like quickly mention one thing? It's not in either of the four parts, and I don't want to make the process even bigger, add more PRs, add to your work. I don't want to do any of that. But like, um, I don't remember if there is something like a conclusion section or like something like a very high level guidelines. Like, like Michael, you and I were talking about like this setup, and you have done an amazing job explaining it, having the screens, all of that. But like we were like discussing, remember how this is very complicated for like two or three people or even four or five people to do. And like, so like maybe like a recommendation or maybe something like a best practice saying like, hey, like this inheritance stuff kinda is too complicated for most people, except I don't know, like people who are like really advanced about it. Like, I mean, Michael, you could do it, but like me, I'm not that smart. I might not be able to do it. Like, like something like more high level guidelines or observations or something like that. It would be also be awesome to have something like that. So like devs or builders, people who like read it might get an overview, like a high level overview.
Yeah, I mentioned that actually on the very first page, on the use case and scope page, where I mentioned this is kind of one way to do it, but it's probably more for kind of people who are already familiar with Bitcoin, and not only the people setting it up, but also the people that should then the heirs that should recover or execute the succession. Everybody
Yeah.
needs to know. They need to know what they're doing. So I do address that, but not in a way where like in a kind of do's and don'ts format, right? Or a pros and cons. So that might be something that's worth thinking about. Don't use if you have just a couple of sets, or if your heirs are not familiar with, I don't know, XYZ. So that's I don't have that.
Yeah, but as a reference design, that's kind of also for it's tricky, right? Because this is not a full product. It's a reference design. It's like the framework for a full product with lots of details in there, but obviously not everything. So you'd actually have to develop it and provide the service and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's tricky. Where it's one of those cutoff things whether you want to include it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I mentioned on the very first page is that I address the target audience, right? And the target audience here are people who are familiar with Bitcoin and who hold the majority of their net worth in it. And yeah, but it's not very explicit, and it's in the sense that it's not like a recommendation, but kind of the way that I talk about the target audience, yeah, it's implicitly it is kind of a recommendation that you shouldn't use it when you when you're new to Bitcoin, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you also describe how this would work on eCash?
Absolutely. You just download the eCash, put it on a thumb drive, and put it in a safe.
There you go. Done.
Done.
Awesome. That's great. I'm excited to see all this stuff in the guide.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey.
And then you need to do your, like people do a book tour after their book is published. Go around and do podcasts and tweet about it every day.
Yeah.
Now, it is important to give these things visibility.
Oh yeah, I think Michael has been invited to a German language podcast. He could talk about this in the
Oh yeah.
podcast for sure.
I talked to Nico Jilch. This he's an Austrian guy. He has a podcast. Was Bitcoin bringt. We chatted at BTC Prague and he invited me to Vienna. So I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about designing Bitcoin, because I think he never had such a topic yet.
Yeah, I think another thing could be to go to Liana and whoever offers something like that and do a kind of a comparison, and then you could create issues that say, your UX is not that good over here. Here's like reference design. You could borrow this from over here to see if some of that stuff could get implemented.
Yeah, I briefly talked to Kevin from Liana in Prague as well, and I think they're always happy if you help them out. Yeah, so the marketing aspect of the publishing here, I haven't really thought about, but I mean, except from kind of tweeting about it and also release or kind of publishing the Figma file, which I don't know whether we want to do it kind of from the, let's say, or if there's a policy to do it, if it's a personal kind of publishing, or whether we publish it under the umbrella of Bitcoin Design, or
no, you
how that
publish it
works.
under your account. There's no community account. Be too messy.
Okay.
Figma doesn't. If we were an enterprise and paid shit tons of money, it would be somehow possible, but we aren't, and we don't.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So from my perspective, I'm just gonna address the remaining 20 comments on part one, and then maybe we can merge that one, and in parallel, I'll try to make a less drastic or visual example of the death of the parents, and it's a good point, a kind of a softer wrap up, or kind of a softer end to that outlines more that they're going to the kids want to probably archive this wallet, which I also mentioned in the making changes section. So just basically round it out a bit more at the end.
Yeah, and then afterwards, it's something I feel like that could be a whole mini task in itself, because we've added so much content, just ensuring everything is really well cross-linked. So if you just want to read something about archival over here, you link to the archival over there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. By the way, are you thinking of adding, more images to all these subpages?
I was thinking of adding more images to the
I'm just talking about the headers.
backup. The header is it could be, so it could be kind of a thematic, like we discussed on Discord, kind of a theme going on, just like you have with
Deadly comments.
Saving Satoshi. It's kind of the same theme that has different topics. So I could experiment with that a little bit, and so that it's more kind of recognizable. That's because using the same image in every page wouldn't probably be that valuable.
Yeah. No, I think either you tell a story or you create. I mean, sometimes you just find a random visual that's loosely linked to the content, like the resources page, or you do something that's a little bit more diagrammatic, where you understand a bit about the logic or the topic that's being discussed, which I think you did with time-based recovery, right? Nah, I'm thinking of another one. I don't know. Something to think about. Or you can just create issues and then we can create them as good first tasks and see if some newcomers want to tackle them. But then you have to be okay with whatever they produce.
Yeah, true. No, I think I can. Yeah, there are basically no header images except on the landing page.
Yeah. Oh, and something else we need to do on the guide intro page, we have these big boxes for the reference designs. We also need to add one here for the inheritance one then. Do you ever search for something about Bitcoin and the guide shows up in your search results?
Not very often. I would have to think when that was the last. There was formatting. Formatting showed up in Google, I think.
What did you search
number for? Not
Bitcoin Satoshi
I think
formatting also.
Yeah, I think I but it was way back. I think I Googled Bitcoin number formatting or something like that. Something pretty specific. But other than that, I'm not aware of it. Maybe there were some, but I don't think so. Usually Bitcoin Optech comes up pretty often.
More technical stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All good?
Before we hop off, I wanted to quickly ask you guys. I saw, Christoph, that you regularly record videos and go through the deck or some page. So how do you do that? Do you use or do you use some Loom or something? What do you use?
I bought an app 10 years ago or so called ScreenFlick. It still works great. I think I paid $30 or so back then. Still works beautifully. Okay. I mean, it's very simple. You just pick the area of your screen that you want to record. Then you click the export button, and that's kind of it.
Nice. Yeah, but works great as well.
Can you also do that with QuickTime now? screen record?
Yeah, with QuickTime. Yeah, obviously you can use QuickTime to record screencasts. That's no problem.
The thing that I like to do is not include, the browser header or some of the application Chrome. So you'd have to be able to pick which section of the screen you want.
I think with QuickTime you can do that.
Yeah, just give that a try.
Okay, I'm gonna try QuickTime. Michael, what do you use?
I use for it.
If I
Since
can
I'm
ask, I mean,
since I'm
yeah,
I'm using
right?
because I'm paying for it anyway. So and they used to have I used to have some issues sometimes with the export format, but now it works like every time.
I don't pay for them, by the way.
I do. I did. Or I paid something, but I don't know for how long.
Yeah.
But I think I have their subscription.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, but I guess if you just want to record 1 or 2 or 3 videos, then QuickTime is probably just fine.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to have these overlays.
Yeah. And
yeah.
you don't want to be on camera anyway, so there's
Yeah. Okay. That's right. Okay. I'm gonna try it out.
Yeah, I need to gather some thoughts after to see what's next for me in the guide, what to work on. There's a whole bunch of open issues. I have some various notes, but I first need to catch up with Core and Saving Satoshi.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to check this. I in the Figma file I have a kind of a diagram about wallet descriptors that I didn't end up using, so that could be something that I can adapt for the multi-key backup page, but I hadn't looked at it much further.
There's some stuff. I remember Stig said something about when you have multiple currencies in a wallet, like stable USD and Lightning, or some eCash tokens, how to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few things.
Yeah, just do it like Revolut. What you can do there is you just pick. You have multiple accounts like Czech crowns, euros, dollars, and Bitcoin as well, and you decide which is basically your main currency, and then everything gets auto converted.
Yeah.
Then you dive. Then you can when you go into each account separately, then it's in that account's kind of native currency.
Yeah, I don't think it's such a difficult problem. You simplify and then you allow people to click through to more detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Anything else around the guide? I guess UIKit icons are also part of these conversations here. UIKit, Chris and I were gonna give Penpot another stab because we're annoyed. I guess we'll find out this week at Figma Config what new features they're announced that we don't get to use.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's in 2 days, right? It's on the 26th,
Yeah.
or is it tomorrow already?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I just want to get this one, this inheritance wallet out there, and then see what else is there to do.
Yeah, I saw that the Penpot people are also working on a plugin system and they're in beta test. So I messaged them and said, hey, I built these 2 plugins for Figma. I'd love to bring them over to Penpot. So I applied for that beta test. Um,
Nice.
should be okay getting in. It'd be cool if you could really just reuse most of the same code with just like some API differences or so. But I think that's then we could build our own custom tools for whatever we wanted. We could build like a post to Nostra implementation or a SAP or whatever we wanted to do.
Well, you could zap per mockup.
Yeah.
If you really like a mockup, you can zap the creator. And you could set up in the background. We could set up a prism that gives something to the design foundation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how flexible this thing is, but if it's basically like a sandbox JavaScript environment with exposure to an API that lets you, say, go to this page or add a rectangle to that page or so, then you can just treat it like you're basically creating a website. And then that would allow you to pull in eCache libraries or whatever you wanted to do. But we'll have to see how they set it up.
Nice. Yeah, Penpot is something that it's kind of out of it's not on my radar really for now. But
what about yours, Yashrat?
The Penpot thing, I mean, I've been having some like trouble with Figma. It's been asking me to like reorganize my drafts and things like that, and it's just like takes a long time for me to load even the application. And I launch the application, I don't know, maybe it's me, but yeah, I'm not too happy with Figma. Would love to see something on Penpot if I can. If there is some like grunt work that has to be done, like recreating screens and stuff, and you guys need help with that, I would love to pitch in on that, because I would love to like just like get those hours in terms of just like, yeah. So I am very much open to that.
Cool. Awesome. So I think like every tool has its own unique properties. Switching from Photoshop to Sketch or from Sketch to Figma or so, it works a little bit differently, and then you kind of over time you get a feel for how it wants to. So I'm curious if we set up Penpot, like we could set up Penpot instance for the design community, for example, like how it wants to be used in a collaborative aspect. How if we can change how we handle this merging and branching type of thing and long-term collaboration on a file. So I'd like to get a feel for that. Also, if we can now use libraries properly, like in the core app where we kind of have multiple different files. We could have one file for the send flow. We could have a library file. We could have one, because right now we have to put everything in one in Figma because we can't really use shared libraries. So I'm kind of curious how this fundamental setup, how we'll be able to do things a little differently. And once we have that, and that'll be a good thing to figure out together. And it'll be a little bit messy, right? But only once we figure that out, I think then it's really worth building out all the different screens.
Okay.
True.
Yeah.
When I played around first with it, I thought, okay, now I have to use background rectangles again, because I got so used to the way Figma works that you don't have to have a layer for the background.
Yeah.
Because you can just set it on the frame, and so that's something that I had to unlearn again. And I said, "Oh," so it's really you have to really kind of build out a couple of things, and like you said, and not try to do all at once.
Yeah, my muscle memory. I love just flying through an application, right? Rely on the muscle memory, but and changing that is can be tough.
Yeah. Well, if one or both of these of the grants for the HRF or OpenSets works out, we could I would actually have the bandwidth to kind of try to see how we could set up the core app on Penpot and just do some kind of pilot or just a small experiment or pilot and see whether it's worth it or it's good enough or not.
I think Core App would be a great project to do this on because it's a real open source project, and so you're not just setting up things abstractly, but with a real project needs.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, my thought was like, so this is like my first reaction, of course, but like it was like, isn't Bitcoin Core App like a huge project? Like, I'd do a pilot with something smaller that if it like something goes wrong or if you have issues, you can always just use Figma and
So I don't know. I don't know.
I think we can. I mean, my approach would not be to kind of migrate everything over to Penpot. I would maybe use one use case or one set of screens or one flow to see where the differences really are.
Right. Yeah.
And then kind of decide, okay, is it worth digging into it now or later? Kind of iteratively.
Yeah, it's not just about pure reproduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
like,
something
it'd be so
to
cool.
do during a design huddle on a Friday. Just mess with it again.
Yeah. I mean, like, if there is like a plugin that like recreates, like you like copy paste and it recreates everything.
I feel like
just try it out.
It probably won't work like that, and maybe we don't we might not even want to do it in the same way that we have it in Figma, right? There might be some things that we can improve.
Yeah.
There is a Penpot Figma importer, and they updated it a couple months ago. I haven't tried the latest version, but I know the first version that came out, it was very limited. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, when I tried the Figma to Axure RP importer, I said I'm rather gonna just recreate the screens in Axure.
How about we just learn coding? We just design in code.
Yeah. So if I would have like 2 more years just to do that, would be good.
Okay, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we used the entire hour, just like with any good corporate meeting.
Exactly. Do you want to upload this? Hold on. How about I stop the recording and then make that decision just in case?